Hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. Man, it is a great week. I love moving forward. The only problem is the Democrats are desperate now. They will be coming for President Trump with a vengeance. They will continue to use lawfare. You know, the moment President Trump takes office, they will go after him. The impeachments will come. We know this. Why? Because President Trump is a huge threat to the deep state. He's a threat to business as usual. Now, he was a threat the first time around, and they came at him. Now, President Trump is far more seasoned than he was the last time when he took office. But then again, so are the Democrats. The Democrats had 4 years of practice of this. So Letitia James, she's the first to fire a shot across the bow. We're going to listen to some of what she had to say. Really despicable, deceitful, nefarious behavior from Letitia James, who just comes off as a very, very angry individual. But the media has jumped right on board with the Democrats. So the fake news, Democrat-controlled media is now also coming at President Trump. And I'm going to tell you something, and I hate to even mention this, but the biggest threat to President Trump, as I see it right now, is going to be the assassination attempts. They're not going to be able to take him down using lawfare. They're just not. The Constitution is clear. We've got a firewall in the Supreme Court. Hopefully, President Trump can get some new appointments in the Supreme Court as well coming up over the next 4 years to really solidify that majority. So they're not going to be able to win on the lawfare. But they will or could win if the Secret Service doesn't do their job on the assassination front. And that is my biggest fear right now as President Trump heads towards January 20th, that they will try to do something to take this man out, God forbid. All right. Before we get to Letitia James, I want to tell you folks about my friends over at Patriot Mobile, patriotmobile.com/Grant. I've got a Patriot Mobile phone. You know, I love these guys because they're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Patriot Mobile, you get the same nationwide coverage, okay, that you do with the regular cell phone companies, but you have 100% U.S.-based customer service. The money you pay goes to Patriot Mobile, which means you're not funding the woke left. You're funding outlets like this one, this podcast, over at Real America's Voice. They're putting money and putting in God We Trust signs up in schools. They go to school board races and help get conservative candidates elected at a very local level. Patriot Mobile is really committed to the future of this country. I urge you, get with Patriot Mobile. You will love it. And you're not going to notice a difference in your service. It's just going to be switch to cell phone. No big deal. It's like the lights in your house. But you know you're not going to be funding the left. And that's real important. Use the promo code GRANT for a free month service. PatriotMobile.com/Grant is the website. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. Use that promo code GRANT or just call 972-PATRIOT, 972-PATRIOT, and tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you. All right, Letitia James. This is the Attorney General in New York. She's already starting to do her recruiting of getting other attorneys general in line to wage lawfare against President Trump. And it may not just be about him in general, but it's going to be about every policy he tries to institute. They're going to do what Ken Paxton in Texas did to Joe Biden and his agenda. The only difference is the Trump agenda will be legal, unlike the Biden agenda. So here's Letitia James laying it out for us.
We did not expect this result, but we are prepared to respond to this result. And my office has been preparing for several months because we've been here before. We faced this challenge before, and we used the rule of law to fight back.
The rule of law to fight back? You didn't use the rule of law. It may be the most offensive thing that she has ever said. The one thing that Democrats don't do is use the rule of law. What they do is weaponize the justice system, and they exploit bogus prosecutors and phony judges, biased prosecutors and biased judges, partisan prosecutors and partisan judges. They exploit that to take the fight to everyday citizens, including Make America Great Again patriots, not just President Trump. Look at January 6th. So the fact that she even brings up the rule of law, that's the last thing that they have done.
And we are prepared to fight back once again. Because as the Attorney General of this great state, it is my job to protect and defend the rights of New Yorkers and the rule of law. And I will not shrink from that responsibility.
You know, I'm sure her Democrat friends are cheering her. Oh, Letitia James, way to go. You're standing up firm and tall to President Trump. What rights are you worried about being taken away from you? The only thing that New Yorkers are going to love is the fact that the price of everything is going to come down, not just in their state, but around the country. The New Yorkers are going to love that taxes are going to come down, not just for rich folks, for everybody. Because you know what? If you want to go under the assumption that we're all equal under the eyes of the law, then why wouldn't we all be equal under the eyes of the law when it comes to taxes? This is why I'm a big fan of either a flat tax or a fair tax, which would be a fair tax and a national sales tax. I think that's the most fair. No income tax whatsoever. I should do a podcast on that because it really is a fascinating policy proposal, is to go with a national sales tax and do away with the income tax altogether on a corporate level and a individual level. But listen to me. What rights are you worried about being taken away from you? They're so focused on abortion. It didn't work. It is clear overwhelmingly that as we await Nevada and Arizona for those states to be called, that President Trump pushing 300 electoral college votes, maybe 311 when it's all said and done, this abortion nonsense did not resonate with the American people. Because what President Trump did was put it in the hands of the states, and people said, you know what? Good. That's where it should be, in my home state. We'll make decisions for ourselves. What rights is Letitia James talking about? She's an evil person, and it gets worse from here.
Democratic AGs across this country to make sure that we would be ready to respond to any attempt to roll back our rights. So here we are. We've studied their platforms. We've identified certain possibilities, fact patterns. We've created contingency plans. So no matter what the next administration throws at us, we're ready.
Wait a second. She's studied our platforms. I think she means Rumble. Get her. Now X. That's a platform for free thinkers. These are the platforms she studied. Oh, and Project 2025. I want everyone out there to go read through Project 2025. Everything I read in there is spot on, and many of my friends were authors in this. Many of them worked in the Trump administration. There's nothing wrong with Project 2025. I would love to do away with some of the federal agencies, Department of Education, Department of Energy. Let RFK Jr. take over the Food and Drug Administration and do away with some of the higher-ups there that are most certainly on the take. So what was up with RFK Jr. going after Fruit Loops? I love Fruit Loops. Those are some of my favorite cereal. It's not good for you, Fruit Loops. He hates Fruit Loops, RFK Jr. I didn't pull that soundbite. I should have. All right, Letitia James continues.
We're ready to respond to their attacks. We're ready to respond to any attempts to cut or eliminate any funding to the great state of New York, as the governor outlined.
Yeah, how are you going to do that? So first off, if we cut funding, we'll cut funding to New York because you're going to get punished for stomping on the rights of good, God-fearing individuals in your state. And we talk about cutting funding. We're talking about cutting waste. Absolute waste. I'll give you an example that is absolute waste. Now, I'm in Texas, so my son goes to a public inner-city school in Dallas. Inner-city school. It's like below the poverty line or whatever they call it. Now, about 15% of the families come from families like mine, upper middle class family. Parents do well, and they're committed to public education, and we're trying to make the school better. And it's a good school. It's a good public school. The rest, a lot of minority kids struggling, English not their first language, and there's some challenges there. So we're on the free lunch program from the federal government. Now, why do I or my son, why should we get a free lunch from the federal government? I can afford to pay for his lunch. What is it, like $2, $3 or something like that? I could afford that every day. Add this up for everybody that's getting a free lunch throughout the Dallas Independent School District. I'm sure other big cities are doing this too. Do you know why my son Wyatt gets a free lunch? He gets a free lunch at school because they don't want to make the other kids feel bad that they get a free lunch. Well, if anything, wouldn't that be motivation? Hey, I want to get to a situation where when I have kids, I don't want him to have a free lunch. I want him to. I understand that, you know what, it's not the greatest feeling. I get a free lunch, he doesn't, they have more money. But it's life, man. It's just life. And it gives you motivation to try to go out there and do something. And I'm not saying don't give those poor kids free lunch. A lot of kids get their nutrition in schools. I get it. It's one place where I'm okay with it. But I don't think we need to be wasteful about it. I make a decent living doing this. I don't need them to pay for my son's $3 lunch. Wasteful. Those are the type of things that should be cut going back to New York and Texas and all these states.
So despite what has happened on the national stage, we will continue to stand tall in the face of injustice, revenge, or retribution. We will continue to protect our most vulnerable and marginalized amongst us.
How do you think we're not going to protect those people too? You know, we're going to protect them from evil people that do great harm walking up and down the streets. We call them criminals where I'm from. Letitia James doesn't really like to prosecute them. Neither does the district attorney in New York City. Neither does the district attorney in Los Angeles, George Gascon, who just got ousted, by the way, because the people want people prosecuted. So I don't know what she's talking about, that somehow everyone's going to be hurt. This goes back to this, you know, we use the term the handmaid's tale. It's like, you know, women put in their place with no rights whatsoever. Give me a break. She's basically saying that everybody's going to be like that under a Trump administration. I am here to tell you to rest your mind at ease, and I know all of you watching this know this, that all of us are going to be unleashed when it comes to freedom to do what we want. Not having government mandate how we do it, when we do it, where we do it. No, thank you. This is what she hates. She hates the idea of reining government in. If anybody is reined in and constricted, it's going to be big governments like New York.
Because it is my sworn duty and responsibility to lead that fight, working with the governor of this great state, Kathy Hochul. This is not the time to be fearful, New York, but faithful and steadfast, knowing that I, as the Attorney General, along with my entire team, we are guardians of the law.
No, you're not.
And we are prepared, my friends, to fight back.
You know how ridiculous this is? It's like a cartoon or a movie where aliens have come down and the alien invasion, and she's going to give the speech about how we're going to fight back against the alien invasion. We're talking about freedom-loving Americans who voted their conscience and is returning America back to the values that we were founded on. It's literally that simple. Get people like you out of the way. Now, I saw this online. This just proves what a hypocrite she is. This is all about Trump derangement syndrome. It's all about President Trump reining these people in. Watch this montage from Letitia James.
This case has never been about politics, personal vendetta, or about name-calling.
This illegitimate president who sits in the White House.
That president, because he's not my president, he's an illegitimate president. His days are numbered. His days are numbered.
This case has never been about politics, or personal vendetta, or about name-calling.
We've got to get ready to mobilize, and we've got to get ready to agitate and irritate until victory is won, but more importantly, until Trump is defeated.
This case has never been about politics, or personal vendetta, or about name-calling.
Bring him down.
Well, Trump won, baby. I got a pair of boots from 2020 that I had made, custom boots. This is Trump won on them. I should have worn. Now they still work. Yes, he did. He won, and lo and behold, Kamala Harris, poof, 14 million votes less than Joe Biden received. What happened there? Go figure, because the fix was in. So she mentioned this idea of vendettas. Well, my buddy Kash Patel talked about this. My buddy Kash Patel, worked in the Justice Department, so important on the national security front with President Trump, part of the President Trump team to get him elected. A great mind, and I'm sure will be back inside the administration. I did a quick little interview with him. I want to play a piece of that interview talking about this idea of a vendetta. But before I play that, I want to tell you about my friends over at energizedhealth.com. Energizedhealth.com/Grant. I feel as good as I have ever felt before. I have lost body fat. I have lost inner visceral fat. I have gained muscle mass. More importantly, I lost 15 pounds. And I did that in like 3 weeks. I didn't change my diet up much, a little bit, tweaks. I don't have any crazy workouts, not any more than I was doing. Couple tweaks. It is about hydration, hydrating my body from an inner cellular level. Cellular hydration. If you want to learn about the science behind this, and this is what really put me over the top. Energizedhealth.com/Grant. Cellular hydration. Take back your body, okay? I lose 15 pounds. I talk to people on this program, lost 200 pounds. And they're still doing it and feeling great. This is a total mind, body, soul transformation, daily videos, recipes, personal coaching, weekly Zoom calls, you name it, guidebooks. They are there every step of the way to help you take back your body. Energizedhealth.com/Grant. I'm telling you, folks, if that right there is not proof of the pudding, I don't know what is. Oh, yeah, baby. Energizedhealth.com/Grant. All right. Kash Patel. So he came on the Real America's Voice show last night. You heard Letitia James says, we're not going to take the vendettas. Well, I don't have a vendetta against anybody unless you broke the law. If you broke the law, abused your power in an illegal fashion, well, then I want you prosecuted. Will the Trump team do that? Here's Kash.
Yeah, look, I couldn't agree with you more. If you broke the law, then you should be investigated and prosecuted just like any other American. That's all I'm asking for is a level playing field. And I think that's what President Trump put forward. There isn't a two-tier system of justice. There isn't a revenge list. There isn't an operation to go after this because you called me a nasty name. These are the things that the radical left are masquerading and using as pretexts to say we are creating a system of weaponized political justice. I mean, it's kind of ironic coming from the folks that authored Russiagate, the 51 Intel letter, Hunter Biden's laptop, and impeachment 1 and 2, to name a few things. We just don't want disinformation campaigns. And I think another power of President Trump is the transparency he's willing to bring to the federal government. And I think that's what scares Washington, D.C. maybe more than anything, in my opinion. He can expose the documents that these folks have written for decades, allowing these corrupt activities. And there's nothing wrong with examining your government if they failed you.
Kash, do you think he'll do it? Will he allow us to look at those documents in a public way?
I think President Trump has spoken to that directly, and he said, you know, there's a lot of material that the government agencies and departments have covered up, especially when it comes to their own corruption. We saw this over and over again with Russiagate. We saw this with the January 6th Unselect Committee, where they buried and withheld transcripts, and namely Nancy Pelosi's video that completely exonerated President Trump from the insurrection narrative, which, by the way, the mainstream media the day after his election is using to throw in his face and saying this man can't be president because he committed an insurrection. Well, actually, he didn't. Your leader of your party, Nancy Pelosi, said it was her responsibility. So those are the types of things we want the American people to adjudicate. I don't need to give them the opinion. Let them read it.
And that's all we do. You know, I give you my opinion on the show. I'm not going to lie about that. Of course I do. I'm an opinionator. But the way I back up my opinion is literally laying out facts to you and letting you decide. I'm not afraid of the facts. And if the facts are against me, quite frankly, either I don't do the topic if it's against my argument, or I change my argument. If the facts don't add up to what I'm saying, then I've got to reassess where I'm at. And maybe the facts lead me to change my ways to make sure that one fact, I change it. If it's a fact that President Trump is convicted of a crime, maybe I need to change that fact. Meaning by we got to take the case to the Supreme Court and overturn it. Now it's not a fact anymore. Facts can be changed, by the way, in certain situations. I fight for the truth. And more importantly than the truth, I fight for what is right, and the truth leads me there. The Democrats don't do any of that. So now we've got this situation where the Democrats are literally telling us what they're going to do. They're flagging us as saying, hey, you get out of line, you do something we don't like, we're going to come at you, we're going to sick our attorneys general on you, we're going to do everything we can do to stop you. They're telling us this. And then you got the mainstream media literally freaking out over the election of President Trump. And they're blaming this on, of course, racism. They're blaming it on somehow we have a hatred for women. It's nonsensical. Some of my favorite people inside President Trump's team are women. Okay? Strong, smart women. Here is, this is Maxine Waters. She was on with Cuomo, and I want you to hear them make the excuses that it's all our fault. Our racism is why Kamala Harris didn't win. Nothing to do with their policies. Again, not taking responsibility for their actions, not acknowledging that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the rest of these lunatics pushed America too far left, and America said, and pushed back.
What is the lesson that your party should have learned?
Well, the Democratic Party worked very hard, and they raised, substantial sum of money. We had great candidates, and so Trump had a following, basically generally led by whites. White males voted in big numbers. He had a few from the other race groups that joined in, like the Latinos at 45%, and black men at about the same rate that they did when they voted for him before, at about 20%. That combination won. And so it is not that Democrats did not work hard, did not do a great job. We had an unusual situation where we had a black woman, which this country has never seen before. A combination of all of those things led to his win.
I will not push back on the idea that race and sex matter in American politics. I think they do. I don't know that it was the controlling variable, and you don't suggest otherwise. To me, it seemed to be that the Democrats thought Trump stinks is enough. And Senator Bernie Sanders said something that reminded me of you, which is why I wanted you on the show tonight, Maxine, which is Democratic Party used to be, we are all about doing for working people. That's what we do. That's what Mario Cuomo's party, that's what Maxine Waters' party was. You are now seen as not that, even by Bernie Sanders.
Well, they're not that. We saw the movement of unions to President Trump, and this also was instrumental. They want to talk about white men. I guess there's a lot of white men union members, but have they ever been to the docks? Have they ever been to Cleveland and a trucking terminal where the Teamsters run out of? I owned a trucking company. Of the 15 drivers that I employed, I think maybe 2 were white, and all of them were pro-Trump. Hispanic, black, and the white guys. Why were they pro-Trump? Because, well, one, they know that fuel price is high means that their wages can't be as high as I'd love for them to go. I've got to take into account my expenses. And if fuel prices are real high, if insurance goes through the roof, we saw insurance go through the roof with Joe Biden in office. These truck drivers understood that under Barack Obama, it was real bad. I'll never forget a guy by the name of Calvin Lucky, the day I interviewed him. Big, fun-loving, black guy, sits in my car. I say something about Trump. He says, I love President Trump. He says, 8 years of Barack Obama. Ain't nothing changed. I'll never forget. That's exactly what he said. Ain't nothing changed. So he voted for Trump first time around. Still a big Trump guy. Thrilled with the election this time around. Truck drivers, working class, Teamsters, dock workers, manufacturing plants, seamstresses, you name it. These people, by and large, are now seeing that Republicans are about opportunity, lowering taxes for everybody, allowing investors, these people that run the businesses, to just flourish. And Democrats are about control. All they want to do is control you, control you, control you.
What is the lesson that your party should have learned?
Well, the Democratic Party worked very hard, and they raised, substantial sum of money. We had great candidates, and so Trump had a following, basically generally led by whites. White males voted in big numbers. He had a few from the other race groups that joined in, like the Latinos at 45%, and black men at about the same rate that they did when they voted for him before.
That's not true. He did not have 25% support of black men the last time around. He had 13% of black men the last time around. He got 25% now. Huge difference. And she's burying her head in the sand. She wants to blame this on racism instead of a horrible candidate. I could give a rat's ass what color Kamala is. I don't care if she's black, Indian, white, Hispanic. She's bad news. She's a radical. She hates everything about America, and the American people saw through it. And Maxine Waters wants to blame this on race.
About 20%, that combination won. And so it is not that Democrats did not work hard, did not do a great job. We had an unusual situation where we had a black woman, which this country has never seen before. A combination of all of those things led to his win.
I will not push back on the idea that race and sex matter in America and politics. I think they do. I don't know that it was the controlling variable.
All right, we heard him say that already. Here's the bottom line. Maxine Waters knows she's wrong. The mainstream media knows they're wrong in all of this. And the American people smartened up. And in the end, I think maybe what I'm most happy about, certainly I love the fact that President Trump's coming back to office. But I think what I'm most happy about is that the American people opened their eyes. And where I thought that we were going to have a majority of Americans with their eyes closed, that I thought the majority of Americans were blind liberal zombies who were not awake to the reality of the situation and what the Democrats were trying to do. Instead, what I learned was the majority of Americans are on our side. And if they're not completely on our side, they're at least awake to what was going on over the last 4 years, the direction this country was headed, and they did not like it. So then today, Joe Biden comes out and gives a speech. It was only 6 minutes long. I can play some of it. He yelled a little bit. He whispered a little bit. He did all his normal things. It was a fine, okay speech in the end. Wrong on many things. But I thought I'd play some of it because this is the guy who was pushed out. I think he probably voted for Trump. I think he was so mad at Kamala Harris. She didn't even invite him to her watch party. Good thing he didn't go because that was a hell of a party, right? A party for a loser. Nobody likes parties for losers. But this was Joe Biden this morning, not long ago, by the way.
For over 200 years, America has carried on the greatest experiment in self-government in the history of the world. And that's not hyperbole, that's a fact. We're the people. The people vote and choose their own leaders, and they do it peacefully. And we're in a democracy. The will of the people always prevails. Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory. And I assured him that I'd direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition. That's what the American people deserve.
So, look, I think it's nice you called President Trump. Invite President Trump in. I'll make you a set of keys. I'll show you where the breaker box is. I'll show you where you turn off the water if there's a flood. Is that what he's doing at the White House? President Trump already knows where everything is in the White House. I hope they save Trump's curtains. We'd save a lot of money if we could just reinstall everything that was there, the carpets. Hope they rolled it up, just re-roll it back out the way he had it. Go right back to the old Oval Office. Take him no time flat. I don't know. It's fine that Joe Biden invited him in. President Trump should take him up on his offer as a show of unity, even though there's not going to be any unity, folks. I want there to be. And in the end, after all this, I want Democrats with all my heart. I want them to say, wow, that wasn't so bad. I did pretty well over those last 4 years. Nothing that they told us would happen happened. I want the everyday Democrat to say, man, my leaders told me they were going to take credit cards away from women and we weren't going to be able to get jobs anymore and they were going to take our right to vote away. I want them to say, wow, none of that happened.
Yesterday, I also spoke with Vice President Harris. She's been a partner and a public servant. She ran an inspiring campaign, and everyone got to see something that I learned early on to respect so much, her character. She has a backbone like a ramrod. She has great character, true character. She gave her whole heart and effort, and she and her entire team should be proud of the campaign they ran. You know, the struggle for the soul of America, since our very founding, has always been an ongoing debate and still vital today.
Yeah, the battle for the soul of America just unfolded and we won. You were not operating within the bounds of the soul of America. Free markets, individual responsibility, freedom and liberty. That's not what you were doing. You were an administration of control, tax and control. So I don't know what you're talking about, the soul of America. You were the complete opposite. You literally pushed communism on the American people, and the American people said, no way. And now you have the audacity to stand up here after your girl loses, the girl, by the way, that pushed you out like a rag doll, and then lecture us on the soul of America?
I know for some people, it's a time for victory, to state the obvious.
Yeah, us.
For others, it's a time of loss. Campaigns are contests of competing visions. The country chooses one or the other. We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature. I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity.
Bring down the temperature? Bring down the temperature when literally just before he speaks, a day before, this sure doesn't sound like bringing down the temperature.
We did not expect this result, but we are prepared to respond to this result. And my office has been preparing for several months because we've been here before. We faced this challenge before. And we used the rule of law to fight back.
No, they didn't. They weaponized the courts to fight back. Is that bringing down the temperature, Joe Biden? No. Then he wants to talk about this idea of election integrity. This election proved you cheated last time around. 14 million votes disappeared for the Democrats because there was no mail-in ballot scheme as far and wide as there was in 2020. There was no pandemic for you to exploit as you did in 2020. Your 14 million votes that you manufactured disappeared.
Of the American electoral system. It is honest, it is fair, and it is transparent. And it can be trusted, win or lose.
Then how do you explain 14 million votes going poof this time around? You're not telling me they all stayed home. They didn't. The hatred for Donald Trump on the left is so strong, people were going to get out to the polls. I do believe the love of Donald Trump was even stronger, which is why more people showed up at the polls. We swamped the vote. They couldn't rig it big enough to win. I love the comments in the Rumble chat. It's gibberish. I'm basking in this. When are they going to arrest Letitia James? Good idea. No Zuckerbucks either. So, Ratchet, that's a very good point. The Zuckerbucks were basically wiped out, diminished. If you believe Zuckerberg or not, whether he said he's going to stay out of it, I don't typically believe it. I'm still pretty darn censored on Facebook. I mean, this is like a record for me on Facebook, 22 people watching live. We used to get hundreds. Compare that to Rumble, where we've got, 1,400 people watching now? Facebook reaches a lot more people. 22 people, 21 people. Come on. Look at YouTube. YouTube right now, 9 people. That's a record, too, for us, I think. 9 people watching. Hey, YouTube, you're on the wrong platform. Come over to Rumble, where it's free. The water's warm. The sky is blue. We love it here. Anyway, I love the chats. All of it is very, 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 very true. Biden's slurred speech has disappeared. You know, my producer today asked me. He said, hey, do you want to do a segment that Biden's going to go radical in his last 2 months and try to jam through all kinds of... I said, no, because I don't think he is. I said, I think Joe Biden's on vacation. I don't even think he's running the country anymore. I honestly don't think we're going to have to worry about them doing any crazy stuff right now. And I mean, as far as executive orders, any kind of policy stuff, they're not going to get anything through this lame duck Congress right now. I don't think we're going to have to worry about it. I think Joe Biden limps on through to January 20th. Maybe I'm wrong, but I decided not to do a segment on that. It would be great clickbait. Joe Biden's devious plan for his last 2 months. Everybody would watch that. I know all you would. Be careful of the clickbait out there, by the way, folks. I have a real hard time engaging in it, even though it gets you views and clicks, and that's how I make money, right? The more eyeballs I have, the more I can charge for my great, beautiful sponsors on this program. But I just don't feel right about it. People do it, though. Joe Biden's devious radical plan for America. T-minus 2 months. I promise you'd all tune in. Am I right or wrong?
I also hope we can restore the respect for all our election workers who busted their necks and took risks at the outset. We should thank them. Thank them for staffing voting sites, counting the votes, protecting the very integrity of the election. Many of them are volunteers who do it simply out of love for their country. And as they did...
All right, should we speed up through this?
Don't forget all the felt
See what else he
communities
says.
that are in real difficulty. Because it takes time to get it done. And so much more. It's going to take time. But it's there.
Here he's whispering.
The road ahead is clear, assuming we sustain it. There's so much we can get done and will get done based on the way the legislation was passed. And it's truly historic.
Oh, shut up. I don't know. I can't take any more of him. I really can't. I figured let you hear a little bit of it. He's got some wishful thinking. He's bitter old man now. I mean, he just really was exposed as the buffoon that he was and really still is. Used all the way, the most inconsequent. Well, no, I can't say that. He was an inconsequential president because he didn't do anything. The people that were pulling his strings may have been the most consequential president we've ever seen because of the damage they have done to this nation. President Trump can unwind this, though, and he will, and he's putting a team in place to get it all unwound, and I can't wait for that to happen. Hey, folks, while I got you, I want to remind you, my friends over at the Wellness Company are so great. I thought I had allergies. Turns out it was strep throat a couple months ago. Well, in this wellness kit, there's amoxicillin here. I just went right to it. I popped the amoxicillin, and bing, bang, boom, I'm all good. There's a guidebook in here for the safe use of all of these medications in here. 8 of the most popular ones in this kit. They have a whole bunch of different kits. This should be the first one you get, okay? This is the blue one. First kit you get, this. Put it in your emergency preparedness drawer, box, safe, whatever you got. This is where it should go. Ivermectin in here as well. Still hard to get ivermectin around the country. I don't know of any other country that'll send you this many prescription medications at one shot. It's got to be part of your emergency preparedness plan. You know they're going to throw stuff at President Trump. You know they're going to throw stuff at our nation and try to hurt us. Be ready with an emergency medical kit. TWC.health/grant. TWC.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT for 10% off. Get with the Wellness Company. You won't regret it. TWC.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT for big savings. All right. With that, folks, we are out of time. Website, GrantStinchfield.com. Stinchfield1776 on most of the social media platforms. And please share and like the video. If you're watching on Rumble, copy the link. Share it on Twitter. Share it on Facebook. All the places you know. Subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, and you can even go to the website, grantstinchfield.com. Sign up for the email list there. That's always a great way for me to get in touch with you as well. We're going to have the Real America's Voice show tonight. We're going to have an attorney on to talk about what President Trump faces with some of these court cases. He still has court cases he's got to get through. How do you navigate yourself through all of this? That on the Real America's Voice show tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. God bless all of you folks. I appreciate you watching. And you guys are fabulous. Stinchfield's Army rolls. We'll see you later, folks. Thanks for watching.